today is last month's meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the July 10th, 2024 minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, I didn't quite, was that Mr. Duraco seconding?
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close, Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez, you may be on mute, Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Close.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We do have 5 votes, so the motion, the minutes are adopted.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to the ethics portion of the agenda. Mr. Marthaler, would you please just walk us through the considerations and determinations before the board today?
Thank you, Commissioner. First up is 21-018. Here, the board is being asked to approve a notice of investigation to investigate potential violations of subsections A, C, D, and 9-22.6 A4 and 5.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close. And Mr. Close, I can't hear you. Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
I have to jump up at the end of the discussion, so I'm going to recuse myself.
and Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, we do have 4 votes, and there the motion is adopted. Motion approved.
Okay. Next up is the matter of 17-017. Here, the board is being asked to approve 3 notices of violations. Each notice of violation is for violations of subsections A, E, F, G, H, and 2 violations of C, assessing a $100 fine for each violation for a total fine of $700 each. Additionally, the board is being asked to approve a notice dismissal to 1 local government officer.
Any questions on this one? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close, Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, I do need to circle back to Mr. Close on this one since it's a notice of violation.
Do you want me to move on to the next one?
No, while the motion's pending, we gotta make sure he's on.
Okay.
Mr. Close, if you're on, can you hear me?
I saw him before attempting to mute and unmute himself, so I'm wondering if his microphone's just not working. I just sent him a message. Nick, are there any other ones that we can move on to without Mr. Close at this juncture? Otherwise, we could just circle back to them maybe at the end of the meeting. You're muted, Nick, just so you know.
With the motion pending, I'm not sure if we're able to circle back, just to. Mr. Close, I see you're on now. This is the 1717 matter, notice of violation. Proposed motion of violate the proposed motion for a notice of violation to 3 local government officers. And you are muted. I believe *6 will unmute you, Mr. Close.
Yes.
Okay, yes, okay. Motion approved.
Thank you, Nick. Next up is the matter of 21-024. Here, the board is being asked to approve a notice of determination where the board is dismissing the complaint for lack of jurisdiction and is referring the matter to the State Ethics Commission.
Any questions on this one? Hearing none, do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Avery and Mr. Jackson, Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez, Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
just circling back to Ms. Rodriguez.
I wasn't on the call or on, for the discussion on that one, so I'm going to recuse.
The motion is approved.
And the final matter is 19-036. The board had previously voted to find the violation in this matter for a violation of subsection D of the local government ethics law. The LGO has requested an administrative hearing. At this time, the board is being asked to transmit the matter to the Office of Administrative Law for a hearing.
Any questions? Hearing none, do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Avery and Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Commissioner, that concludes the ethics portion.
Thank you, Mr. Marthaler. Okay, as we move on to applications, I'm just going to remind everyone to please make sure that they remain muted to eliminate any unnecessary background noise. Anybody who's joined us by audio only, *6 will both mute and unmute the call. As each applicant appears to testify, please just make sure that your camera is on and speak up when your application is called so that your image will appear, thus permitting us to swear you in prior to testifying. The first applicant appearing before the board today is Monroe Township Fire District number 3.
Morning, Director. Matt Jessup, McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman.
Good morning, Mr. Jessup. Is there anybody with you that needs to get sworn in?
Yes, we should have Fire Chief Wayne Lyons, Fire District Chairman Les Barta, and although he doesn't need to be sworn in, I believe Bob Schwartz, Fire District General Counsel, is also on.
Okay, great. I see Mr. Lyons. I just do not see his camera on, so if we can make sure that is turned on.
I'm trying to turn it on here. For some reason now my computer doesn't want to turn it on. Control shift off.
We can give you a moment, no worries.
It's not letting me access my video. I apologize. For some reason, your video is not working. I don't know why this is not happening today.
Chief, is
Do you
the
wanna
chairman with
take a-
you or is he on a
No,
separate feed?
he's separate. I'm here. It started when I was here. I was online and turned camera on. I think everything else off. Join now. Oh, just give me 1 second and I think I might have it. I think I might, wait.
You are, but I muted the one, so hopefully we don't get any feedback, but I can see your picture now.
I just deleted the other one, so I'm here.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry.
Okay, wonderful. All right, then we can get everybody sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
All right, Mr. Jessup, the floor is yours.
All right, great. Good morning, everyone. Again, Matt Jessup, McManaman, Scotland and Bauman. This is an application by the Monroe Township Fire District Number 3 pursuant to NJSA 485A-6 in connection with the issuance of bonds and notes to finance a fire pumper truck in an amount not to exceed $900,000. The acquisition of the fire truck and the bond note financing of the same in an amount to not to exceed $900,000 was first approved by the voters at an election held on February 19th, 2022. The vote was 817 in favor and 178 against for a total of 995 votes. Order of magnitude, there are approximately 14,800 registered voters in the fire district. Subsequent to the first referendum, the fire district learned that the total cost of the truck was going to be at least $1.12 million for the truck itself, plus fit out. So the fire district was really looking at a total of about $1.3 million in total. So the fire district held a second referendum election on December 12, 2023, seeking approval from the voters for an additional $400,000 for the fire truck. The vote was 23 in favor and 0 against. However, the second referendum was held from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., not 2 p.m. from 9 p.m. as required by statute. So in consultation with Mr. Bennett and the local finance board team, the fire district is treating the second referendum as a capital meeting, which of course permits the fire district to authorize the expenditure of funds on hand for capital projects, which the fire district has. So the fire district will be financing the truck with a mix of bond and note financing in an amount not to exceed $900,000 as properly authorized by the first referendum, and the remainder in capital cash, which the fire district has on hand and or will accumulate, and I'll get into that in a minute, to pay for the balance. The fire district will pay for the procure the truck rather through HGAC. Again, the purchase price for the truck itself is approximately $1.12 million. The equipment manufacturer has represented that the fire district is saving at least 5% on the purchase price of the truck by going through HGAC. And of course, we save on costs of a public procurement, that whole legal process, et cetera. The new fire truck is replacing an existing 2010 fire truck that has over 102,000 miles on it and over 7,900 service miles. So while the truck may be newer in terms of number of years than the board is used to seeing, certainly the number of miles and the service miles on it, or service hours on it, excuse me, are sort of off the charts relative to what we're all used to seeing. And that's really a product of Monroe being a very large geographic municipality, over 40 square miles. This fire district getting upwards of 2,000 service calls a year means this truck is on the street every single day and could be going upwards of 30 plus miles each way every single day. So the truck has had a significant amount of use relative to its number of years. On top of that, of course, it's going to take us 3 years to get a new truck. So this truck will actually be in service for another at least 3 years. After that, once the new truck is in place, the plan is to move this truck to be sort of a secondary or backup truck for a couple of years, basically, to ride it out a little bit longer if possible. And then it'll be sold on Gov Deals for essentially, at that point, we anticipate scrap value. The fire district will finance the $900,000 through the issuance of bonds and notes over a 10-year term. At present, that plan of finance includes upwards of 3 years of notes, followed by a 7-year bond. We'll make principal payments in each year. The aggregate financing is structured to produce level debt service of approximately $110,000 per year for the 10-year combined term. The fire district does not need to raise taxes to provide for the debt service payment, as it fits within their current budget. Primarily the result of an existing $178,000 per year capital lease that comes off the books in 2025. So the plan will be to use that $178,000 in 2026 and 2027 accumulated to help pay for the cost of the truck, and then to start using it in 2028 to pay debt service on the $110,000 obligation. Director, with that, we'll stop and see if you have any questions.
My only question I think that you did not address was one, sounds like they're going to eventually scrap the apparatus when that time comes. Any sense as to what that might look like, what the value would be at the time of scrap?
Defer to the chief, but I think the understanding is that it'll be nominal amounts of money, whatever we can procure competitively off Gov Deals.
A couple $1,000s. That's probably what it's worth.
Okay. And then, Mr. Jessup, I think you referenced to just about the cash that was on hand. Can you just delve into that a little bit in greater detail as to how that's going to be bifurcated and what's available?
Sure. So there's a couple things, and again, the chief can chime in on existing cash, but the fire district has sufficient existing cash on hand through fund balances, et cetera, to provide for the difference between the $900,000 and the ultimate all-in purchase price, which will not exceed the $1.3 million right after the equipment fit out of the truck, which again costs $1.12 million. So we expect to basically go just about up to that $1.3 million number for the total cost of the truck. $900,000 will be financed. That leaves $400,000 to be paid for by cash. The fire district has that cash on hand. However, in addition, basically to cash on hand, the fire district has in their budget $178,000 capital lease obligation that it's paying now that it finishes paying in 2025. So you have $178,000 that's in the budget in 2026 and $178,000 in the budget in 2027. That obviously, in and of itself, almost accumulates the full $400,000 that we're talking about that can be raised. Notwithstanding that, they've got the cash sitting there today. So either way, they have more than enough money to provide for the difference between the amount that'll be financed and the total amount of the cost of the truck.
Understood. I do not have any other questions, so I will open it up for additional questions and comments from the board and the public. Hearing none, do we have a motion to issue positive findings in an amount not to exceed $1.4 million?
Yep. 900,000.
You're right. 900,000. 1.4 is the total, potentially.
So move.
Second.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Duraco. Ms. Suarez.
Yes.
Mr. Duraco.
Yes.
Mr. Close.
Yes.
Mr. Avery.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is Bordentown Township Fire District number 2.
Good morning.
My name is Jim Fearon. I'm from Dilworth Paxson. My colleague John Glynn is also on the line, as is a representative of the fire district. I was planning on handing it off to John to make the presentation. So I think, John, if you're on, go with it.
Yes. Thank you, Jim. Good morning. My name is John Glenn. Excuse me, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Glenn, before you just jump in, I just wanted to make sure, because I did hear there was somebody else with you. Is there
Yes.
anybody that does need to get sworn in?
Yes, Captain Keith Scully is with us from the district. He is here to be sworn in.
Okay, great.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You were on.
If you're with us,
Sorry, I
Yeah.
do.
Thank you, Captain Scully.
all right, Mr. Glenn, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I am an attorney with Dilworth Paxson. We are the fire district attorneys for Bordentown Township Fire District number 2. We're here to present the application pursuant to NJSA 40A:5A-6. We're requesting positive findings for a proposed fire truck purchase financing in which the district will utilize a $1.391 million loan from the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development Program to purchase a new fire truck and related equipment. The purchase of the truck will be made through HGAC, whereas the purchase of the related equipment will be made separate and apart from the fire truck purchase. The proposed new truck will replace a fire truck that is 20 years old. It no longer satisfies all safety requirements for fire trucks, and the replacement parts for which are becoming difficult to procure due to its age and the end of production of the model. A referendum on the subject of the purchase of the new truck and related equipment at a cost of $1,391,000.35 was approved by voters of the fire district on February 17th of this year, 2024, by a vote of 176 to 65. Under the Department of Agriculture's financing program, as under local finance board requirements, this truck can't be purchased prior to delivery and inspection of the vehicle. Once delivered and inspected, the fire district will be required to purchase the truck and equipment with its own funds before seeking reimbursement from the USDA. So accordingly, shortly prior to the time of delivery, the district proposes to issue bond anticipation notes in the amount of $1.391 million in anticipation of the USDA loan. We anticipate these notes will mature within 3 months of issuance. Then after delivery of the vehicle and payment by the district, the USDA loan will become available. And at that point, repayments will begin over 10 years via 20 equal semi-annual payments of principal and interest in the amount of $83,000 approximately. Regarding the fire truck that is being proposed for replacement, the district plans to sell the engine via an auction in approximately 3 years at a point in time after the proposed new engine has been received, pending approval of the proposed purchase, of course. The tax impact of the purchase is projected to be approximately $41.70 on the average home in the district. Currently, the assessments for average homes in the district are $243,000, as included in the application. And with that, I will pause for any questions the board may have. Sorry,
Commissioner, I don't think we can hear you.
I just wanted to make sure.
Your audio went out again, Commissioner.
All right.
Oh, wait, no, did you start that?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm not touching anything. I don't know what's going on. Apparently I need a new laptop. State equipment's fantastic. So one of the questions that I just wanted to put a finer point on had to just do with the down payment. Just if you could walk us through the rationale behind not putting a down payment and why the fire district went in that direction.
Well, this is Jim. Let me jump in on that. The vendor did not require us to make an advance payment to the fire district. And I think the rationale with respect to not putting up a current budgeted amount, I think the idea was that if we had the opportunity to finance the entire amount, which we are allowed to under the fire district statute, that we should do that. I suppose, by putting up a down payment, we would effectively reduce the 10-year payments and effectively make it into an 11-year obligation. We just didn't consider that as an option because most of the time when you do an optional down payment like that out of your budget, you're doing it because the vendor would be requiring an advance payment of some sort. And in this case, they did not require an advance payment to build the truck.
And just out of curiosity, what is on hand?
I'm sorry, I think you're out again.
It's just a little faint.
What's, I guess, the plan for the, okay.
All right, now I
Yeah, you were
heard you
back.
at the
You were
very end,
back.
the very end.
What is the plan for the retired apparatus? Or will be a retired apparatus?
So the plan is to have it auctioned is after receiving the new engine. The plan is to put it up for auction, at which point the district is hopeful to get a price of $50,000 as a starting point. The engine has been well cared for, despite the fact that it doesn't meet a number of safety requirements. It's not clear that they will be able to get that asking price. At that point, the engine will be 23 years old approximately. And again, the availability of replacement parts continue to be more and more scarce. But that is the hope. That is the intention, to auction it.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I will open it up to see if any board members or anyone from the public does. Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to issue positive findings in an amount not to exceed $1,391,000?
So moved. Second.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Avery. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yeah, I'd prefer to see down payment, but given the overall app, I'll vote yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is the City of Trenton. And I see Mayor
Morning.
Gasiora. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. I'm home with COVID.
Good morning.
Oh, well, I wish you low symptoms and a speedy recovery.
It's been miserable.
Sorry to hear that. Do we have Mr. Johnson with us?
He is not on this one, Commissioner.
Oh, here he is.
Okay.
I am on, but I'm not a part of this application.
Fair. I associate you with all things Trenton. My
That's a-
apologies,
that's a
Mr.
great
Johnson.
thing, but I will sit here and be available if necessary.
So then just, is Mr. Beach going to be taking lead on this application? Who's going to be delivering for the city?
I'm gonna start off, Commissioner.
Sure. Then before
that's
you
okay.
do, Mayor, I just want to make sure we get everybody sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, Mayor, by all means.
Good morning, Commissioner. We are presenting an application for the waiver of $9,001,846.11 in appropriations, which represent the amount that we are over the 3.5% appropriations cap for calendar year 2024. This overage has been caused by a variety of factors, including the prior city council's refusal to adopt an ordinance to create a cap bank and increase the appropriations cap to 3.5%, and rising costs of public safety. It is important to note that the city of Trenton has continued to work extremely hard to limit the impact of these rising costs on our residents. In fact, importantly, the city is under the tax levy cap by $2,822,707.33. The city continues to work hard to address our budgetary issues, including with the assistance of the staff at the local government services, bringing our total debt under the debt limit for the first time in over a decade. We appreciate the board's consideration of our application today, and I want to thank the Division of Local Government Services for their assistance in preparing this application and their diligent work during this entire budgetary process. My team and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm going to jump in then. I firstly want to just thank you for the pre-meeting. I think there were some candid conversations in there. And one of the things I wanted to just highlight for the board meeting is some of our conversation circulated around a review of departmental expenses to kind of ensure that the city efficiently meets the needs of its residents going forward, a comparison of the health benefit costs to ensure that the city is not overpaying. And I think we may have even talked about a little bit moving forward with a 3.5% COLA ordinance. I couldn't remember if that had already been done or not. So I wanted to just bring up a couple of those items just to make sure we're moving in that direction to keep alleviating this need going forward, since this is a hefty amount, and want to see how we can address it going forward without having to frequently come before the board.
Yes, Commissioner, I noticed our council president is also on, Crystal Feliciano.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning, Council President.
Good morning, Commissioner. If I may, I would just like to say that I agree with the mayor's position on the application as evidenced by our unanimous support for the resolution to submit the application. The city will need to spend more money if it ever hopes to progress from where we are today. I also want to thank the Division of Local Government Services for your support, and I appreciate the partnership that DCA has shown throughout this process.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Team is always ready to stand by and assist. Happy to keep moving forward. Definitely looking forward to seeing what the comparisons with health benefits looks like, what some of the efficiency evaluations look like for the different departments. And then lastly, Mayor, I'm not sure if that would be you or maybe perhaps Mr. Swisher or Mr. Cherry, who's also on. Is there a 3.5% COLA ordinance that's already on the books for Trenton, or is that something that we should pursue with the city?
It's my understanding, Commissioner, that that's already been done.
Perfect. Okay, great. Glad to hear it. I do not have any other questions or comments. I will open it up to see if any other board members or if anyone from the public does. Okay, hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the appropriation cap waiver for the calendar year 24 municipal budget in an amount not to exceed $9,001,846.11?
So moved.
Second.
We have Mr. Duraco and Mr. Avery. Ms. Suarez.
Yes.
Mr. Duraco.
Yes.
Mr. Close. Mr. Close. come back. Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
and just circling back to Mr. Claus. Oh, yes.
Yes, Nick. The answer is
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Best
Thank
of
you,
luck.
Commissioner.
Look forward, of course, look forward to continuing to work together. And Mayor, I hope you feel better.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next applicant appearing before the board today is the Borough of East Newark. I think we have Mr. Wilcox with us.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, board members. We also should have Hiram Gonzalez.
Here.
Hiram, are you here?
Yes.
Who's the CFO in East Newark? The mayor was going to be on, but she has jury duty. So fulfilling her public service one more time.
Yes.
Good morning. This
Mr. Wilcox,
application.
just before I
right.
have you jump in, yeah, we're just gonna get you sworn in along with Mr. Haram. Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay, so this application for the Borough of East Newark is requesting a cash surplus waiver pursuant to 48:4-45.3 E in the amount of $126,134 to meet their 24 appropriation cap requirement. The budget has been introduced. It actually has been reviewed by the division. I think we're pretty well set. The reason for this cap waiver is in 2023, the budget resulted in a $240,775 over expenditures. Quite candidly, because they didn't have a CFO that did their job. And I'll leave it at that. If you're looking at the budget document, when the former auditors prepared the AFS, the over expenditures were in the middle 300s. There's been 3 iterations of the AFS as Mr. Gonzalez and I were going through the drafts. There was grant money that wasn't expended correctly. It was charged to the operating budget. There was a whole bunch of things that just weren't done right. The borough entered into an interlocal agreement in the fourth quarter of last year with the town of Guttenberg to utilize their clerk, Cosmo Cirillo, and their deputy CFO, who is the CFO here and will be the CFO in Guttenberg at some point next year, to take over the operations. You know, we've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. We've implemented, Hiram's implemented controls so that there's monthly budget reports that are able to be reviewed. And the goal is that there will be no over expenditures in 2024, which will allow that 240 comes out of the budget. The 126 cap waiver goes back inside the cap. There's still some room and flexibility because the waiver is less than the deferred charge. And we do not expect to be back in front of this board next year with a similar issue. And with that, I would ask if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. I guess the only question that I do have is, you touched upon this a little bit, but could you or Mr. Gonzalez just talk a little bit more in depth about some of, I guess, the procedures that have put in place to ensure that there won't be over expenditures again next year?
Well, we'll start with the CFO paying attention to the budget reports on a regular basis.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just I think we should stray away from individual assessments about performance and just talk about what we have to deal with, because I think we're getting close to some issues of talking about individual performance, which I don't think it's appropriate, nor should we in this setting. We have an issue, we'll just deal with it. I'm just getting concerned about talking about an individual's performance.
Okay. Again, controls that, controlling the department heads in terms of purchasing, making sure that they're encumbering before they're ordering, as opposed to purchasing and then coming in and say, I bought this, can you process the bill? You know, that was going on a regular basis. So again, much better oversight by the department, and you know, again, controlling how the department heads spend money.
So is there, I guess, like almost like a check and balance kind of put into place there? So if it was an issue potentially with the CFO's office, is there somebody else that's also been kind of interjected there to make sure that they're capturing, or for lack of a better word, almost like auditing, to ensure that that's done in the future, right? Not just swapping out an individual, but is there some other check and balances put into place to ensure that if that is happening again, something's going to catch it before it becomes an issue for the budget?
Well, I mean, Hiram's in charge. The individual that does the day-to-day work is getting the oversight needed and required in order for that office to run correctly.
Okay, so Mr. Gonzalez is a new component to this. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
Correct.
His oversight is going to be a new component to this. Okay.
Right, and I'm watching him.
So, so Commissioner, if I could add, I took over in December of 2023. So unfortunately, when I did take over, there wasn't a lot of checks and balances in place. The person that does do the accounts payable process, he's only been there for 6 months. So I'm kind of trying to guide her into making sure that she just doesn't pay everything right away. Whatever invoice she comes in place, the mayor is actually going ahead and stamping it approved, going to her, and then they'll be sent to me so for final approval before they're actually put into the system for payment. So we're establishing the checks and balances going forward.
Got it. Thank you, because that, I think that's exactly what we're trying to see. So there's not just one individual who's going to be able to do those things, but there's going to have to be multiple points of verification. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you. I don't have any other questions or comments. I will open it up for the other board members or anyone from the public.
Commissioners, Mr. Wilcox, Steve, is there a QPA involved in the process to help rectify some of, working with the CFO yourself, Mr. Gonzalez, on rectifying some of the internal checks and balances and processing issues you've alluded to here? If so, is that person existing or are they new?
So it's a new person. It's Cosmos Rillo. He's actually the QPA and the municipal clerk at the Borough East Newark, and he's also the QPA here in the town of Gothenburg. So he's became the municipal clerk late last year. I believe it was the fourth quarter. So he's also a part of the reviewing process and invoicing and PO approval.
Okay, so he's also one of the checks and balances and sign-offs now with the new CFO relative to the approval of any purchase orders, so as to avoid the confirming purchase order Steve just described.
Yep, that's correct. He's part of the review process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Then hearing none, do we have a motion?
Commissioner, your audio went out again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Apparently, if I hold my head a certain way, it captures it. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the appropriation cap waiver for use of surplus in the amount of $126,134.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Jackson and Mr. Avery. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. The next applicant appearing before the board today is the Township of Irvington. Ms. Rodriguez is going to be recusing. Mr. Jessup, are you going to be presenting this application?
I am Director, yes. We should have with us the CFO for the township, Fahim Raouf. We might have Joe Facone from Samuel Klein and Company, and we should also have Jennifer Edwards from Acacia Financial, the township's municipal advisor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I've heard two. I just want to make sure that that's who we have so we can get them sworn in.
I didn't hear Joe Facone, but I'm not 100% sure whether he was joining. So, Joe, if you're there, chime up. I'll chime in. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move forward.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Jessup, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So still good morning, everyone. Matt Jessup, McManaman, Scotland and Bauman. This is an application by the Township of Irvington seeking two approvals. One under the Municipal Qualified Bond Act and one pursuant to NJSA 40A 2-26E. So in that order, first, we are looking for approval of the board under the Municipal Qualified Bond Act for the adoption of a 2024 bond ordinance that appropriates $20 million for various capital improvements. The $20 million appropriation includes $2.5 million in American Rescue Plan funds, $432,000 in UEZ funds, and a $1 million cash down payment. So the net expectation is that the township will issue bonds and notes in the amount of $16.068 million, the $20 million less all the cash that we just walked through. The bond ordinance authorizes multiple capital improvements, including police SUVs and other police building improvements, repairs to fire stations, construction of a new DPW building, acquisition of DPW trucks, intersection and road improvements, park and pool improvements, etc. As you know, as the board knows, the township is a Municipal Qualified Bond Act municipality, and therefore we need the board's approval to finally adopt any bond ordinance under the Municipal Qualified Bond Act. That's part one. Part two, the township is also seeking approval pursuant to the Municipal Qualified Bond Act to issue long-term bonds and to issue them pursuant to a non-conforming maturity schedule under the local bond law. Let's talk about what we're financing real quick. The township has one general improvement note outstanding in the amount of $6.751 million. That funds the township's 2018 general capital ordinance that was done similar to this 2020 ordinance before you. The township wants to issue long-term bonds to finance that $6.751 million note. We also want to long-term finance the $16.068 million I just described earlier to fund all of the 2024 bond ordinance net of the cash funds, the ARP money, the UEZ money, and the cash down payment. That results in a bond sale in the amount of $22,819,000. This will leave the township with no short-term debt other than a $200,000 taxable redevelopment note that gets paid off over time, will never go to long-term bonds, and NJIB construction notes to fund the township's allocable share of North Jersey District Water Supply Commission projects that also have been and will continue to come before this board, through the Supply Commission. So basically, all of the township's municipal debt is addressed by this plan that we're proposing before you. Now, the non-conforming maturity schedule is just that, right? It's definitely non-conforming. But it's the result of an odd existing debt profile that looks something like this. In 2025 and 2026, $8.7 million in outstanding debt. In 2027 and 2028, $9.6 million, an increase of nearly $1 million. 2029, 2033, $7 million. And after 2033, there's no debt service, which is odd, $80,000 in 2034. We're not counting that. So from 2034 on, there's basically no debt service whatsoever. So we have this roller coaster swing, up $1 million, 2 years later, down $2.5 million, and in year 10, no debt service whatsoever. So the schedule that we've proposed in this for this bond sale accommodates those early swings. There are light principal payments in the first 4 years, when if we stayed in notes on the new money piece on the 16 million, we would have no principal payments in the first 3 of those 4 years. Then our maturity schedule is heavily front-loaded from there, with about 62% of our principal on the entire bond issue paid in years 5 through 9. And then we have smaller principal payments in the last 6 years, 2034 and beyond, where again, there is no existing debt service at all. So there are 3 primary benefits that this non-conforming maturity schedule serves. First, the proposed schedule fixes this roller coaster existing debt service profile that allows for better fiscal planning and management by the township. Total debt service will now increase from $8.7 million to $9.7 in 2025, then to $10 million in 2026, then to $10.5 million in 2027, and stay there through 2033. Those are manageable increases over reasonable periods of time that allow for better budgeting practices for the municipality, as opposed to the up $1 million, down $2.5 million, et cetera. Second, this proposed schedule allows room for future capital needs, right? Any new debt service can be evenly layered on top of the $10.5 million in those 27 through 33 years, with plenty of future borrowing space in 2034 and beyond, where debt service after this bond issue is only $1.5 million. Third, the proposed schedule is cheaper and pays principal faster than a conforming maturity schedule does. So under the proposed schedule, the township pays nearly $3 million more in principal through 2033 than it would under a non-conforming maturity schedule. So our schedule starts slow to accommodate the existing ups and downs of the existing debt service schedule, but it catches up really quickly. And finally, I think it's important to note, certainly for the record, that the proposed bond issue and the total existing and now after the bond issue, total debt service profile fits within the township's Municipal Qualified Bond Act revenue limitations, right, with room to spare. So after this bond issue is issued, we still have capacity to issue additional bonds for future projects, which we know are coming through North Jersey District Water Supply Commission. We have that capacity under the Municipal Qualified Bond Act to continue to address capital needs on a going forward basis. And Director, with that, I'll stop and turn it back to you for questions.
Thank you very much. Before I jump in, I'm going to open it up to see if there are any questions or comments from any board members or anyone from the public. Okay. Hearing none, the only thing I wanted to just quickly address, Mr. Jessup, was, and I just couldn't remember, did we talk at all about just what's going to remain of the outstanding notes and what the kind of plan is there?
Sure. So, Director, the nice thing about this plan is the only notes that remain outstanding after this bond issue is a $200,000 taxable note that was issued a few years ago to fund redevelopment activities that is getting paid off through the budget over multiple years, right? Almost like a special emergency note, right? It just gets paid down over time without any long-term financing. So that will be taken care of through the budget. The only other short-term debt outstanding at that point are the township's construction notes that it has issued to the iBank as a result of the North Jersey District Water Supply Commission undertaking its capital projects and the township being a part of, a responsible party to those financing obligations. And those, of course, will be permanently financed through the NJIB once the projects are complete through the ordinary process and schedule that I know the board is, intimately familiar with. So there is no other short-term debt remaining other than those two obligations, both of which have a plan sort of outside of the traditional bond issues, by the township.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing that I just want to address does not have to deal with this application in particular, but just kind of the chronic lateness that we see with the municipality in getting us documents, whether that's the budget, the audit, the AFS, and what is going to be done to address that.
Right. So,
Correct.
Director, so the two things, I'll turn it over to Fahim first. We obviously discussed that. That's critically important to us too during our pre-meeting, which again, we really appreciate. We always enjoy the opportunity to be able to have these conversations with you and Nick and the team ahead of time. So we appreciate that. And I know that was something that's equally important to the township. And so I think Fahim can go ahead and address what the plan is to make sure that that's fixed.
Yes, thank you, Matt. Yeah, as we mentioned in the pre-meeting before, basically our strategy and plan had been to speed up the process in reference to our audit as well as the completion of the AFS and the budget. So this year, basically, we finished up 22 back in May. We have the auditors scheduled to come back in another next week and a half to finish up 23. That will get us back on cycle. The current budget is already in Trenton in reference to the review. I have scheduled meeting with our finance committee meeting for an amendment tomorrow night, and we anticipate to be able to final adopt and then start the budget process for 25 in the month of October. We also have on the books an ordinance that requires me to begin the process in October with a timeline, and so we're back on track with that. We also get ready to engage an additional outside consultants to come in to help us with some oversight and some of the financial work to prepare these documents, which we'll be in discussions with, and we anticipate to have the contract approved by council at its next meeting. And so basically we anticipate in 25 to be on time and ahead of schedule.
So to that point, Mr. Rofen, thank you for that. Is an October start time frame for the calendar year 25 budget, is that much earlier than what we've seen in the last couple of budget cycles?
Yeah, that's been pretty much earlier than what we've been. We've been probably starting around late November, then you get in the holiday season and it falls apart. And so we figure we get it done in October, we can get through the departments and then come back and then have to deal with the council and hopefully get the introduction done before the quarter. The other part basically was the AFS, getting the AFS done in reference to the audit was almost 9 months out to a year. And so that backed up everything right there. So we're going to get this audit done, hopefully have it finished before October. And then we're able to start the AFS as well in time and get it done within the required statutory time frame.
Okay. What I would like to ask of you is just to keep the Bureau of Financial Regulations in the loop about where you stand with actually commencing the budget in October and how the AFS is moving along, just so that the division understands where you are and can provide any technical assistance necessary to make sure that you meet the deadlines, the statutory deadlines that you have to. Happy to serve as technical guidance in any way, shape, or form that you need it, but want to make sure that the timeframes that you are putting in place are met. And any way that we can be of assistance in doing that, we will.
Sure, will do.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the adoption of the bond ordinance, the issuance of the general obligation bonds, and the waiver of maturity schedule?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Duraco with Mr. Avery seconding. Ms. Suarez.
Yes.
Mr. Duraco.
Yes.
Mr. Close.
Yes, and I want to reiterate the Commissioner's concerns about the lateness of filings and the importance of that and the overall Comptroller's report on audit of financial management practices. So, yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez is recused. Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is the Cumberland County Improvement Authority.
Good afternoon. Jeff Winitsky from Parker McKay. We're bond counsel to the Improvement Authority. I believe we have on the line today Jerry Velasquez, who's the CEO of the Improvement Authority, Trish McGahey, who is the CFO for the city of Bridgeton, Anthony Inverso, who's the financial advisor for the Improvement Authority. And I don't know, I didn't see, but he may be on Chris Langhart, who's the bond counsel for the city of Bridgeton. And if there's anybody else on that I don't see, feel free to chime in now, all of which need to be sworn in with the exception of Chris.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm on, just so you know.
Hey, Chris. Very good. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. As I said, Jeff Winitsky from Parker McKay. We are bond counsel to the Improvement Authority. We are here today seeking positive findings pursuant to NJSA 485A-6 for the issuance by the authority of its not to exceed $3 million of city general obligation lease revenue bonds, what we call the Bridgeton Fire Station project. The bonds are being issued by the authority on behalf of the city of Bridgeton to finance the cost to complete a new approximately 30,000 square foot fire and emergency medical services command and communication center located in the heart of the city of Bridgeton. The new facility is a state-of-the-art station, fire station and communications facility that is going to be home to the city of Bridgeton Fire Department as well as their Department of Emergency Medical Services. By way of background, for those who might not remember, it's been a bit. The authority initially issued bonds in 2021 to finance a portion of the cost of this new facility. Unfortunately, the facility is being built, or fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, the new facility is being built in an existing historic building. And so to construct anything in a facility like that, we're required to go through the State Historical Preservation Office, which often results in some delays, some deliberation, approvals, etc., complicating matters even more. The facility started construction in 2021, which, as everybody recalls, was the peak of COVID, which led to construction delays based on availability of labor, which then correspondingly resulted in substantially increased construction costs, as everybody on the line is aware, not just for Bridgeton, but for really worldwide. As a result of those delays, and as an interesting consequence of those delays, the fire department and the Department of Emergency Medical Services took a look at design and decided to make some additional tweaks, improvements, design changes along the way. As a result of everything I just described, increased cost, time, etc., to get the facility complete under the new design plans with the SHPO approvals in place, with all the requirements that need to be done in order to make the building, subject to a CO. It's going to cost an additional 2.8 or so to get complete. So to do so, the authority is back on behalf of the city to issue an additional series of bonds in an amount not to exceed $3 million. Those funds will be utilized to finish construction and to pay for any cost of issuance associated with the issuance of the bonds. As was the case for 2021, the structure of the bonds is as follows in the security structure specifically. The city of Bridgeton owns obviously the land upon which the new facility is being constructed. That land and the facility on it is already being leased to the authority. The city of Bridgeton then leases it back. together with the land and pays lease payments that presently are an amount sufficient to pay debt service on the 2021 bonds. We'll use the exact same structure for the new bonds to be issued, only difference being the new lease payments will be equivalent to the debt service on the 2024 bonds, so that in aggregate, total lease payments will pay both the 2021 bonds as well as the 2024 bonds. The new bonds are going to be issued pursuant to the Improvement Authorities Act, a bond resolution to be adopted by the authority, and a trust indenture which will set forth the security for the repayment of the bonds for bondholders. The lease payments to be made by the city of Bridgeton, like they were in 2021, are general obligation, full faith and credit of the city. Those lease payments with that security structure were approved by what is essentially a bond ordinance. In this case, you're making lease payments instead of bond payments. The bonds will amortize over a period of 20 years with substantially level debt service. Depending on where interest rates lie at the end of the day, based on the average assessed home in Bridgeton, which is around $220,000, it's about a $30 tax increase per household. We've got folks, as I said, from the authority. Oh, and I would like to mention, as was the case in 2021, the Improvement Authority was and is acting as project manager, construction manager to facilitate design, construction, completion, et cetera, on behalf of the city, which the authority regularly does throughout the county, and they're doing so again in partnership with the city now. So as I said, we've got folks from the authority and from the city and the financial advisor if there are any questions about the project or the financing in general.
I just want to clarify one thing. It's Anthony Inverso. The bonds will be issued over a 20-year period. So
did I say 30, Anthony?
You said 30, but yeah, so
sorry, I was mixing metaphors. The 2021 bonds had a 30-year amortization. The 2024 bonds have a 20-year amortization. Thank you for the correction, Anthony. I apologize.
No worries.
I just have a couple of items that I'd like us to maybe just highlight. So I just want to confirm that I believe it was $5 million put towards the project costs in 2021. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
From the city, you mean?
Yeah.
From the city? Yes, that's correct.
Yes, yeah, 5 million out of our ARP funds.
Thank you. And I know you touched a little bit upon the project scope, some of the delays and what kind of costs caused some of the higher costs that were realized, and then what had kind of been done to cut that back and make it more within that what was budgeted and anticipated going forward. So thank you for that. I guess one of the things that I don't know if it was fleshed out, and I'd like just to make sure that it is. What, I guess, is the cost to the city to temporarily house the fire department? And I guess how much longer are we anticipating that? I guess it's up until the project completion, correct?
Yeah, the current, I'll let Kevin and Trish talk a little more specifically about cost, but the current facilities that the city is in require them to move out as soon as possible. So they've been working with the code officials with respect to the existing conditions, and the code officials have been working with the city because they know that they're building a new facility. So from an operational perspective, besides being not programmatically as good as they would like, there is a cost, and quite frankly, they have to move out just because of code and other issues related to the existing buildings that they're in. So from a building perspective, that's the answer on that side. And Kevin and Trish, I don't know if you want to talk more specifically about the costs currently in the temporary facilities that you have.
Yeah, so what Jerry said is correct. The current building that the fire department is in is a much older building. It's a lot of code issues. We do have to have some, the standard general repairs to the building, nothing large other than, HVAC, some piping issues. it's been their facility for beginning of time. Yeah, it's several decades. So, but like Jerry said, the building is out of code with the current code of the trucks being in the building. They, sleep above it on the second floor. So it's been delayed knowing that a new facility across the street's getting built for them.
And the EMS division is not currently housed with the fire division. The EMS is actually occupying an old waterworks building in the city park. So one of the other things that will happen with this project is bringing both divisions together in the new facility.
Thank you. So were there any actual additional costs other than just having to maybe do some small retrofits and just keep it going with housing the apparatus there, or no? Everything else has kind of been status quo.
Been status quo, more or less. Yeah.
Relatively minor, because they had already occupied the facility that they're currently in, the non-compliant facility.
Thank you. Then I do not have any other questions. I will open it up for questions or comments from the board members or anyone from the public. Hearing none, do we have a motion to issue positive findings?
So moved.
Second.
I believe I heard Mr. Avery and Mr. Duraco. Ms. Suarez?
Yes.
Mr. Duraco? Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
And Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is the Passaic County Improvement Authority.
Hi, this is Heather Litzbauer from NW Financial. I'll introduce the team and then we can get sworn in. From the borough, we have Mayor Randy George, Chris Battaglia, the CFO, Steve Wilcox from Wilcox and Company, the borough's auditor, Everett Johnson from Lentz, Goldman and Spitzer, Borough Bond Counsel, Mark McPherson and Jim Spinarkle from Waters McPherson, who's the authority and county bond counsel, and then myself, Heather Litzbauer, municipal advisor to the authority.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. The Passaic County Improvement Authority is requesting positive findings pursuant to NJSA 40A 5A-6 in connection with the issuance of its county guaranteed governmental lease revenue bonds series 2024 in an aggregate amount not to exceed $20 million, which will provide funds for the borough of North Haledon to acquire a property and renovate the existing buildings on that property in order to retrofit their municipal offices and police headquarters, which also includes furnishings for the building. And also positive findings for an unconditional guarantee by the County of Passaic pursuant to NJSA 4037A-30. And that guarantee was introduced by the county commissioners on July 16th. I'd like to turn it over to Steve Wilcox, who will give a history of the project.
Thanks, Heather. Again, good morning, Commissioner, and good morning, board members. A little historical perspective for North Haledon and this project. Their existing municipal building is 70 years old and is in need of considerable improvements. Currently, there's 12 parking spaces, most of which are utilized by the employees or the police, and it's located on the Molly and Brook. Now, that's important because 2 years ago, when Hurricane Ida came through this area, the brook flooded in a flash flood situation, and the borough lost over a dozen pieces of police equipment, cars, motorcycles, and the such. The borough was originally prepared, and they authorized in 2013 a $6 million bond ordinance to build a standalone police station at the site of a closed firehouse on a piece of property that the borough owns. That standalone police station was going to be $6 million. As part of that, they've appropriated over the years 23 and 24, $835,000 of capital improvement fund down payment money, of which 286, I believe, was used for the $6 million bond ordinance for the standalone police building. When this property became available, the borough pivoted to not build a standalone police department and purchased this property and retrofit the property to both a police department and municipal building. Again, having all the, it's just, North Haledon is a small town. Having all the facilities in one area, notwithstanding the fact that this property has considerably more parking, both for police cars, the police business, and for the residents and the public to come to this venue. The property, they got an appraisal which was sent to the board as part of the application for a little over $6 million for the existing building and the property. The purchase price, the acquisition price is $10 million. But you can't just look at that in a vacuum, because you have to understand that in North Haledon, there's two pieces of property that might fit the bill. One is in front of the planning board for the developer to build residential units. So that property is not available. And then there's this piece of property, which is 1.5 acres with an existing building that's 20, what do we got? It's 20, almost 27,000 square feet. If the borough were to look, if there was land available to build this kind of building, the building itself would be over $11 million, with the industry standard at this point being $400 and change a square foot to construct the building. They would also still be spending $5 million for the police station part of it because of all the requirements of the state and federal government that surround having a police facility. And they have to also spend, obviously, a number of $1 million in order to retrofit the municipal building for all the departments and all the other services that the borough provides. So again, hypothetical, if there was another piece of property where they could construct this building separately, it would, between the construction cost, they would have to acquire the property, which 1.5 acres in North Haledon probably is upwards of $1.5 million or $2 million to purchase in this real estate environment. So essentially, they would be, again, I say the if, because there is no other property available. If there was a property available for them to build it from scratch, it would theoretically cost the borough more than this $20 million, which is acquiring the property and the building for 10 and $5 million to retrofit for the police department, and an additional $4 million and change to do all the other things that they need to do to get this existing building up to speed and up to code to be their municipal complex. The other piece of this, I think that's important, is by doing it through the Improvement Authority, by utilizing the authority's statutes, they now have over $800,000 of capital improvement fund available to them to do other projects and perhaps use some of that to pay cash as opposed to issuing additional debt. On top of that, they have $780,000 of debt service coming off the books in 2026, which is most of the reason for the non-conforming maturity schedule allowed by the local authorities law. That's part of the application. So essentially, they will be able to build a brand new complex and accommodate over $1 million in debt service by 2026 in their budget with almost no tax impact to the local residents, which again is I'm not sure there's many municipalities that can say that. And the only other thing I wanted to say that's relative to this is 3 or 4 years ago, the Bergen County Improvement Authority came before the board with a very similar project for the Township of Saddlebrook, where they acquired a vacant Home Depot building in the industrial area by Route 17, purchased it from the developer who had purchased it from Home Depot. The developer in that situation also was contracted to retrofit the building. And it was a similar transaction, a little bit more than $20 million. And that was approved by the board back then. With that, I open it up for any questions that you, Commissioner, or any of the board members might have.
I do have a couple of questions that I'd like to start off with, and then certainly we'll open it up to others. So I guess just going back to the appraisal versus the anticipated purchase price is I guess how we got to the 10 million, is that because that's what the asking price is? And if so, what was done, I guess, to attempt to whittle that down? Just curious as to how we even got to that figure.
That I would defer to either Chris or to the mayor.
I'm happy to answer it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that has been missed is our library is also going with this building. Our municipal library is going to move into this building on the second floor, so it will encompass all the municipal facilities. The reason why the 10 million was picked is he has 3 doctors who are prepared to take the building over. He will retrofit each floor to each doctor. So that's the price he's going to get from these doctors. So we can either say yes to the 10 million, or he sells it to he leases it to the 3 doctors. So we kind of didn't have a choice. And that piece of property that Steve mentioned, it fulfills our 3rd round COA plan. So the last thing I want to do is stop them from building, because we will fulfill our 3rd round COA, which, as you all know, 4th round starts January 1st. So, we want to make sure we have compliance, but only if this project is built. So the last thing I want to do is interfere with their building. So that property is not on the market for us.
Thank you, Mayor. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Can I ask one other question then? What is the plan for the existing municipal buildings, right? So once we move, if you should move into this new property, and that frees up the existing structure where we have the municipal police, and then also, as you mentioned, the library, what's the plan for those other structures or properties?
Okay. The municipal building, in one of the latest storms, got about 3 feet of water in the basement. We were told by the engineer if we had gotten 4 feet, the building would have collapsed within itself. It's an old single-family house, which is closer to 80 or 90 years old that was retrofitted 70 years ago to become a municipal building. There's no elevator. We got 2-3 people crammed into small offices. There's, like you said, there's virtually no parking. The plan is to knock the building down and make it a parking lot, and to take the library, which is a newer building, and turn it into a rec center for our children, so that by knocking this building, we'll have more parking for that rec center. It become almost a community center for our seniors and for our children. So that's why the library is being moved with us, because they don't have enough room either. So the plan is to knock the building down.
It's going to be kept for both properties.
It'll be kept by the municipality to be a parking lot, because our recreation fields are adjacent to this building. And when there's a rec game, people actually have to carpool here in order to get a parking spot.
Okay. One other question that I just have is the property to be acquired. What is that currently bringing in tax revenue?
About $150,000
Per year, okay.
per year. And we acquired a firehouse. One of our fire companies went out of business. So we acquired their building, which we're about to put it on the market for sale. And we've been offered $1.5 million for it. Now we're going to go out to an auction, because, you know, we want to make sure everybody has a chance to bid on this property. But that's going to bring back all the additional taxes, and maybe even more taxes, considering what they build there. So we're hoping to offset it.
Thank you. No, thank you. I think from my perspective, everything you just said, Mayor, really put a lot of this back into perspective as to what the municipality is looking to accomplish here, how this is going to be beneficial to all of its residents, both from the COA affordable housing perspective, also just ease of use. So I appreciate having you here very much. I'm going to open it up just to see if there are any more questions from board members or the public, or any comments they'd like to raise.
Commissioner, I just want to follow up on the appraisal issue, because I shared some of the concerns about the difference between the appraised price and the acquisition price. So my understanding is that the desire of the borough to purchase this specific lot is it's a unique lot in terms of its opportunity to meet all your needs. And it also is in private ownership with an active marketing, I guess, for future tenants in the building. Now, do you know if there are just verbal agreements on doctors occupying the floors, or if there's actually a lease or a contract that the owner has entered into?
We got to the developer, to the owner, before he signed.
Okay.
He was about to sign. We've heard through the grapevine that he was doing this, so I approached him. And this building is essentially located in the center of town, adjacent to our middle school and right across the street from our fire department. It is the only building in town like this. So yes, we are paying more money than the appraisal, but in the long run, not only is it the perfect location, but he spent $5 million renovating the infrastructure and the parking lot. So even though it's only assessed at $6.5 million, he put in all the necessary funds that we don't have to put in. The heating, the air conditioning, the electric, all that has been done. And he put in bathrooms centrally located, handicap bathrooms, that we don't have to move, that we can build around. So, you know, on the surface, we're paying a little more money, but in the end, we're getting something that this borough should have done 20, 30, 40 years ago, and it didn't.
No, Mayor, I understand that issue, and I congratulate you on your foresight. My only question really was if the appraisal was done when there were lease agreements that might increase the value of the property substantially because it would have revenue to it. And that was important for me to find out, so I appreciate your presentation.
He's been getting rid of the other condo owners. There was about 10 condo owners that were there. When he took over the building 5 years ago, it was in such bad shape that he had a condo meeting, and he owns 90% of the building. He told them he was going to invest $5 million. They told him, we're not going to pay. Don't do it. So they had a condo vote, and it was 90 to 10. So he went ahead and did it. Now these people didn't pay any fees or any of their assessment. So now he takes one of them or two of them to court at a time. And the judge says to the existing owners, you owe the money, pay or get out. So he has 3 left, which they've already been through the courts. They're just waiting for the decision. It'll be just like the other half a dozen or 10. The judge rules that they owe the money, and he takes the condo unit from them, and he gives a judgment, a financial judgment against them. So he's on the last 3. We're just waiting for the judge to make his decision, and then we'd like to purchase the building after the tenants have been removed.
I understand completely. And
so if he had filled the building, it probably would have been worth a lot more money.
That was my point, yeah. So you answered my questions and my concerns that I had when we were just looking at the application without your presentation, so thank you. I have no further questions.
I have a question. Hello?
Yeah, you're cutting out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
All right, Mayor, I don't know if this question applies to you, but I'm looking for the staff, I believe, requested a project budget. What the cost was going to, I mean, we got a price of a cost, but the staff requested a project budget which was not submitted or hasn't been submitted yet.
It was submitted. The purchase price, $10 million. The retrofit for the police headquarters was $5 million. And then the furnishings and the municipal borough hall portion was $5 million.
Nick?
That would include the library, though.
Right.
Because as of this morning, I was told that had not been submitted.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Rodriguez. I believe I miscommunicated that to you. We did get that information, and I apologize for that miscommunication.
Are you guys able to hear me?
I'm able to.
Okay, great. My microphone keeps going in and out for whatever reason. So I will say this quickly before any more outages on my end. But Mayor, I just wanted to say thank you for participating. I think this really highlights to everybody who's present, while it's really important for us to have the electeds on these conversations, because we get to really hear from you exactly what's being accomplished, why you're trying to accomplish it, and understand the pitfalls and also the successes as to what you see moving forward in achieving these kinds of things. So from our vantage point, it's really helpful. So I thank you for your time today.
And I'd like to thank you, because this is going to change the character of the town. Right now, we have to turn away seniors because our library is too small during our programs. Our recreation program doesn't have an existing building to do inside programs. So this is going to change the outlook for the seniors, the young children. And when people come to pay their taxes, there's only 5 spots for them to park. So people are circling the parking lot, waiting to get in to pay their taxes. And you can understand how upset they are when they come in. So I just want to thank you for considering this, because this will change the borough of North Tilden and how its residents are treated. So thank you.
You know, Mr. Mayor, I must say though that I'm impressed that you have people circling your town hall to pay their taxes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, they're not happy when they actually pay you, but that's why they complain. I'm circling and I got to pay you, you know?
Absolutely. The only other thing that I think was raised a little bit by the board that perhaps, Mayor, you might be able to help address as well is, and I know this was addressed by Mr. Wilcox, but can you go into a little more detail for us as to why it is that the borough is going through the improvement authority? And just, I guess, how necessary it would be for the borough, because that would be, I think, the final hurdle for the board.
I enjoy this phenomenal relationship with the Passaic County Commissioners. I am, of course, a Republican. They are Democrats, and they work with me on every single issue I do in town. And it's a relationship that other groups should be envious as, because when they ask me for something, I do everything I can to help them. When I ask them, they do it. So, and I can also save money, and I can take the down payment out of my municipal budget. So that means I don't have to hurt the taxpayers with a potential tax increase by going with them. And I'm thrilled that I can be part of the Improvement Authority.
So, Mayor, what are your plans? I know we talked about this a little bit, but what are the plans in particular for the money that has already been set aside? I know we just keep talking about other improvements to the municipality, other capital items, but what exactly are you planning to do with the money that's already been set aside?
Well, we pave about $600,000 of roads a year. That's a drop in the bucket. We're 3.5 square miles. And the asphalt is not what it used to be. You used to be able to get 10, 15 years out of a road. We're lucky to get 6 or 7 years without them starting to deteriorate. So I would like to do a very aggressive paving projects throughout the town. Right now, I do about 6, 7 roads a year. I need to be doing 10, 12 roads a year in order to catch up. So no decision has been made yet, but my recommendation is going to be to the council is to let's pave more roads each year. You know, we're lucky. We get a $250,000 DOT grant every year, and we put about $500,000 in our budget, but it's not enough. We need to pave more. And of course, when you're paving a road, there's always the drainage system that is undersized, not enough catch basins, and curbs that divert the water. North Tilden is a rural town. We don't have a lot of curb and sidewalk. We just got a DOT grant for almost $400,000 to put a sidewalk on a very dangerous road. Well, with this extra money, maybe we can do more of those projects. So, but none of that has been decided because I have to go in front of the governing body and make my pitch.
Of course. No, appreciate that.
You know, I've been here 26 years. I've been the mayor for 26 years, and we have turned this town around. They could have bought this building 35 years ago from the Resolution Trust Corporation for $750,000. It wasn't finished, but the people before me, if they heard the word tax increase, they all got upset. You have to have periodic tax increases, even though you don't want to. Everything costs more money, health insurance, pensions, you know, salaries. So they were skittish to spend the money. So now I'm at this end now where I would not be doing my job if I didn't pursue this purchase. So I just wanted you to know that I didn't just get here. We have a stable tax rate. We're at the bottom third of the taxes in Passaic County. I'm very proud of that. And that's because all my professionals, you know, most elected officials think they know more than the professionals. I'm one of the ones that know I don't know more, I know less. So I need to be guided by them. So, you know, I'm pretty happy about that. I just want you to know, this was not no spur of the moment decision. This has been going on for a handful of years.
No, Mike.
Yeah, I can't hear anybody.
Yeah. It's like a Verizon commercial.
But I don't get paid.
There you go. You're back.
Okay, good. Are there any other questions or comments from anybody else? Okay. Then hearing none, I am going to ask if we have a motion to issue positive findings on the project financing and county guarantee.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close, I'm sorry, Mr. Close, Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Rodriguez.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Well, Mayor, I want to commend you for coming in because it always makes a huge difference and an impact when a mayor comes in and really shows. I'm from Passaic County, and I know your professionals, and you've got a great team around you. So let me start with that. And I'm very familiar. I think I have some really good friends that live in North Helden. Beautiful town, really beautiful town. And I'm not gonna lie, I was very hesitant with this application, being from Passaic County. You know, the fact that the property was a little over $6 million, and you know, $10 million was offered for it. I think you gave a great explanation. I do see all the development that's going on all over Passaic County. So I see your the need to do it and your concern about it, and I have to commend you. I have to commend you, your business savvy, your love for your town, your borough, and so yeah, I vote yes.
Thank you.
And Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Just circling back to Mr. Close.
Nick, yeah, I'm back. Yes, and I do want to echo the comments about Mayor George's presentation and participation. I think it was extremely valuable to have him here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion's approved.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
All right.
Thank
We
you.
wish you luck. I'd like an ribbon cutting invitation, so I'm just throwing that out there now. So when we get to that juncture, you can keep the board posted.
Yes, and I would be happy to have all of you come and to see how your vote changed how we do business in the borough of North Haven. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, the next application before the board today is also by the Passaic County Improvement Authority. Ms. Rodriguez, I believe you're going to be recusing from this one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Litzbauer, are you also presenting this one?
I think John Drakewitz, bond counsel, is going to be presenting.
Okay.
Well, again, John Drakewitz from Gibbons Law Firm. Glad to be here for sure. We also have in attendance, obviously, Heather Litzbauer, the financial advisor from NW Capital Markets. Leah Sandbank, who represents the borrower from McManaman, Scotland. And from the school and the borrower, we have Robert Garashi and Ira Griffith. And they're ready to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Well, thank
right,
you,
Mr. Drakewitz.
Director, and the rest of the board. The Passaic County Improvement Authority is seeking local finance board approval pursuant to 48:37A-54L and also positive findings in connection with 48:5A-6 in connection with the financing by the authority consisting of the issuance of not to exceed $18,500,000 of its revenue bonds, which will be used for the benefit of Community Charter School of Paterson, a public charter school located in Paterson, New Jersey. The bonds will be issued and the proceeds of which will be loaned to Morris Charter, Inc., the borrower, for the purposes of acquiring existing school facilities located at 8-14 Morris Street in Paterson. Proceeds would also be used to fund a deposit to the Debt Service Reserve Fund and also to finance the cost of issuance of the bonds. The bonds will be secured by rent payments to be made by the school to the borrower pursuant to a lease agreement between the borrower and the school. The bonds will also be secured by a Debt Service Reserve Fund and also through an assignment of the leases through the rents. The bonds will also not be secured by the credit of the county or from the Passaic County Improvement Authority. I would now like to turn it over to Robert Garashi in connection with the school to describe a little bit more about the school and what the goals here are in connection with this financing. Bob?
Good afternoon, members of the board and others. I am Bob Garashi, CEO of an organization called New Jersey Community Development Corporation, based in Paterson. And in 2008, we founded the Community Charter School of Paterson. The charter school is a 900-student charter school, grades K-8. The school's middle school students are currently in the building that we wish to purchase. The building and its standalone gymnasium are vital to the school, to its students, and to its families. Now, the building's current owner wants to sell the building, and we want to ensure that the building stays as the home of the charter school for many, many more years to come. And accordingly, and because of that, we wish to purchase the school using tax-exempt bond financing through the Passaic County Improvement Authority. Thank you.
And at this time, if the commissioner or director has any commissioners like to have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you very much. I just had one quick question, and perhaps this is more of a technicality than anything else, but I did notice that I guess there was some sort of letter that was issued by the IRS, just essentially saying that the Morris Charter has not yet received nonprofit status, and they also don't meet the statutory requirements for a corporation. So if the nonprofit status is not received, how does the charter and the Improvement Authority intend to kind of move forward on this? I just want to see if that's been thought through and what the intent is.
Leah, if you'd like to answer that, if you're on the phone.
I am. So we have not received a letter from the IRS that the determination has not been received. It just is still going through the IRS process. They are extraordinarily backed up and are only reviewing applications now that were received, I think, in January or February. I know we've spoken with Bob. There are, I think, a couple different options, whether the CDC initially acquires or another entity or the school acquires the building with the opportunity to transfer it when the nonprofit status is received. They've all been thrown around. I don't think we've settled specifically on a plan B at this time if Morris Charter's acceptance is for, usually the IRS doesn't just reject something. They say, here are problems. It's a back and forth. You fix whatever the deficiencies are that they see, and then you re-present it to them. So it's likely more a matter of time than it is an if.
And if I may add to that, Director, we do have not-for-profit status in New Jersey. It's the IRS 501c3 status that we're waiting for. And you are also correct. We could not issue tax-exempt bonds until that letter is received. So if the status changes as to who the borrower would be prior to going out with the bonds, we would obviously notify the director and inform them of the change of who the borrower is. But again, the borrower is really just a pass-through entity. So, but we're hoping that it would still be Morris Charter, which we hope to expect to get from the IRS in the next month or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just chime in that we already have a number of related entities that do have 501c3 status conferred upon them, which we could utilize for this purchase. We've created Morris Charter Inc. as really a standalone 501c3 for this purpose. But there would be options, and I think consistent with what Council has stated, if we needed to avail ourselves of them, the board would be notified.
Thank you. I'm going to open up, see if there are any other questions or comments from the board. Okay, then hearing none, do we have a motion to issue positive findings under NJSA 40A:5A-6 and approve the project financing under 40:37A-54?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Jackson with Mr. Duraco, second. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez is recused. Mr. Jackson.
Yes. And if I may, I just want to say that the great work that Bob does in Patterson. I happen to be a friend of one of your staff members, Valerie Chulinski, and just doing tremendous work. And this is just another example, in my opinion. So keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Certainly a godsend for Patterson, the surrounding area. But I wish you very much luck and expedience from the IRS for whatever I can utter that into existence for you. So best of luck.
Thank you very much.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is the Essex County Improvement Authority.
Thank you, Director. Again, John Drakowitz representing the Essex County Improvement Authority in connection with this matter. If I introduce some of the folks on the phone today, on the Microsoft today, it's Steve Rother, who's the Executive Director of the Improvement Authority. Jen Edwards, the Financial Advisor from Acacia, representing the Improvement Authority. Leah Sandbank, who's counsel to the borrower from McManaman in Scotland. And Leah, if you can introduce who's representing the borrower on this transaction.
Sure. Ron Bate from RBH Group should be on as well.
Terrific. So if I may proceed, the Essex County Improvement Authority. I'm sorry, it's being sworn in, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The Essex County Improvement Authority is seeking local finance board approval pursuant to 40:37A-54L and also positive findings in connection with 48:5A-6 in connection with the financing by the authority, consisting of the issuance of not to exceed $80 million of its revenue bonds, which will be loaned to RBH Social Impact Newark, LLC, which is a New Jersey not-for-profit corporation. The bonds will be issued for the purpose of acquiring a leasehold interest in certain real property located in Newark, New Jersey, and the proceeds will also be utilized to finance capitalized interest, providing a deposit for various reserve funds, as well as financing the cost of issuance of the bonds. The project that is being acquired is a housing project which consists of 203 units, which currently are being used for workforce housing, primarily for teachers in the Newark area. The building will be revised to consist of 123 workforce units, as well as 80 senior units over the next couple of years. The bonds are going to be secured by a lien on the revenues derived from the operations of the housing project. It would also be secured by a debt service reserve fund, as well as a leasehold mortgage on the property. The bonds will not receive the credit support from the authority, nor will see the credit support from the County of Essex. I would like to now turn it over to Leah Sandbake to describe a little bit more regarding the project and what is hoped to be attained with this financing. Leah?
Thanks, John. So for those of you who are familiar, this is the existing Teachers Village project we're talking about at Halsey and William Streets in Newark. Nick pointed out to me or reminded me, and some of you may have been around originally in 2012 when we probably went in front of this board for approval of a financial agreement by the city that would then secured an issuance of redevelopment area bonds. So this is that same project. It is an existing project. When constructed, there were sort of three components. There was originally a charter school component, and then these two workforce housing with retail components that were financed in 2012, 2013, and 14. And when constructed, this project was actually the first newly constructed residential housing in Newark in 50 years or 70 years. And it's been very, very successful. As John indicated, at least 70% of the units are rented to teachers and other educators, which is, how it's marketed and geared as really a community for teachers and educators to live near where they work. This project and the idea of transferring ownership to RBH Social Impact, this is very similar to the project that RBH Social Impact presented to this board. At this point, I think maybe it was in May, for the Jersey City project, which similarly was an acquisition of, at that time, newly constructed building and turning it into what RBH now calls Teachers Village Plus project. And this is a national model to build these in low-income areas all over the country. This is sort of teed up because this building and the workforce parts of this project already exist. So the idea is to get ownership of the existing Teachers Village project into the nonprofit through its subsidiary RBH Social Impact Newark. And then as units turn over, to convert 80 of the existing housing units to senior units in order to establish the intergenerational community. That's the whole nonprofit purpose of RBH Social Impact. Is to establish intergenerational communities. Like all these projects, the workforce units will be governed by the cap restrictions of 120% AMI, and 20% of the units are restricted at 80% AMI. and the project will remain subject to the terms of the financial agreement and will assume the existing redevelopment area bond that is associated with that financial agreement.
And I guess with that, if there's any questions from the board or from the director and the rest of the board, we'd be happy to answer them at this time.
So I just wanted to put maybe a slightly finer point on just the RAB application from 12 years ago. How's that performed, and just ensuring that this financing is not going to disturb that in any way?
Sure, this financing will not disturb that. The nonprofit subsidiary will receive approval, hopefully, to be treated as a urban renewal entity. The terms of requirements for URE are the same as what it's doing anyway. So it will convert to a URE, and then the financial agreement will essentially just be transferred to the new URE, which is owned by the nonprofit. And so everything else on the real estate side, on the payment side, on the term side is staying the same. It's just will be considered a URE to URE transfer. The agreement has been performing. I know there has been some issues with the city in terms of billing and making sure the right annual service charge is being billed and paid correctly. So they are working through some of the issues that existed with the billing and the numbers, but the RAB is outstanding, will continue to be paid and has been paid.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none then, do we have a motion to approve the issuance of the revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $80 million?
So moved.
Second.
And just to clarify, that's also for the positive findings on the project financing and the approval for the not 37A54.
Yes, for both.
Okay. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
The authority appreciates your input. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is the Middlesex County Improvement Authority.
Good afternoon, Director. Chris Langhart from McManaman, Scotland and Bauman, representing the Improvement Authority. I think we have Anthony Inverso from Phoenix Advisors on as well. And I believe we have William Brennan, CFO from the Improvement Authority, Jim Polos, Executive Director from the Authority, and Nicholas Chiklinski, CFO from the county on as well. And we can swear them in as necessary.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony given this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ready,
Mr.
Director?
Langhart, floor is yours. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Director, members and staff of the Local Finance Board. Thank you for hearing our application. The Middlesex County Improvement Authority is here before you today for positive findings and approval of a county guarantee that's related to the issuance of, I'm getting an echo. I don't know if it's disturbing anyone else.
I think I figured out who it was. I muted that person, so we'll see if that
Okay.
works.
Thank you, Director. Yes, much better. So we're here for approval of a county guarantee related to the issuance of refunding bonds of the authority. We find ourselves in a tricky situation sometimes. Although the Improvement Authority is permitted to issue the refunding bonds without LFB approval, so long as we comply with the post closing, administrative code conditions, all 5 of them. In this instance, we do need approval of the county guarantee for the refunding bonds. Just a brief history. The Improvement Authority issued bonds on behalf of the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission back in 2008 for capital improvements on behalf of the commission. Those bonds were refunded in 2014, and both those bond issuances had county guarantees. 2014 refunding bonds had a guarantee that only applied to those bonds. Sometimes now we write the guarantee ordinance so that it applies to refundings or refinancings of those bonds. We don't have that there. So to go forward with the refunding as we plan, we need to adopt a new county guarantee, which is scheduled to be adopted tomorrow, and the county has graciously offered their guarantee for this. But we need to come before you to get positive findings. So with that brief history, we're happy to answer any questions you might have for the county guarantee, which is an amount not to exceed 22 million, which I should have added.
So I just have one question. Probably a little abnormal for the questions that we have, but looking at just the sheer amount in reserve, what I guess is kind of the plan here? This is going to potentially realize an additional $70,000 an annual savings. So is there kind of a plan? Is this just truly building up the nest egg? What is, I guess, the thought process going forward? It's a good one to have, right? Just curious.
So I think I got the gist of that, Director. It was a little hard to hear you, but I think Anthony Inverso may be able to answer that if he heard it.
I'm not sure I heard all of that. I think you asked about the savings.
Yeah.
A little bit about this. Yeah. Can you hear me better now or no?
Yes.
A little bit,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. My mic keeps going.
Go.
So, wanted to just see. No, still can't hear me.
Now, we lost you again.
If I may, oops, I believe the commissioner was asking, with the substantial reserves built up by the Educational Services Commission, and then obviously saving money is a good thing, the $70,000 a year. Just overall, what is the total plan regarding that reserve? And the incorporation of the $70,000 or so into that.
That will be into the commission's reserve?
Correct, yeah, the additional savings per year, especially given the recent comptroller's report.
Got you. Anthony, I don't know if you had a chance to review that. I'm just not familiar with their finances. That may be something we need to come back to the board on.
Yeah, I think it's just pure debt service savings in this case, just to take advantage of the market. You know, where that money will go, I can't speak for that, but the opportunity to save $70,000 a year, or a total of $725,000 over the term of the bonds, is an opportunity that shouldn't be overlooked. So, where what they'll ultimately do with the funds, I can't attest to that, but it's just opportunity to take advantage of lower interest rates and save money.
I don't know if that suffices, Director. We still may not be able to hear you, unfortunately.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like I should get paid by Horizon for that.
Right.
But, maybe by Microsoft. So I think it does generally answer it. I was just curious if we were saving for truly just rainy day funds, always great to have a surplus, or if there's something more general, not necessarily tied into this application directly, right? And I always think it's great to look for cost savings in any way, shape, or form, and that's certainly what's being done here, right? There's going to be about $70,000, I think it was, a year that's going to be realized in savings. Fantastic. Just based on how large the reserves are, is there something I was just curious about working towards, or is this just good fiscal management practices, and we're just looking to continue to build that nest egg.
And I think it's the latter, just taking advantage of the savings and the opportunity that we have.
Thank you. And I saw Mr. Polis, certainly shaking his head emphatically during that. So I'm going to take that as that was his thoughts as well.
It is true. The administration there runs a very tight ship when it comes to their educational programs and what opportunities they want to create for the children within our districts. So I know that they're very frugal when it comes to saving every dollar possible.
Okay. Thank you. I do not have any other questions or comments. Does anyone else? Okay, then hearing none, do we have a motion to issue positive findings in an amount not to exceed 22 million?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, Mr. Duraco, and I believe Mr. Jackson second. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Of all the people I know how much you love them.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Yep.
And the Middlesex County Improvement Authority is not going very far because they are the next applicant also before the board.
Do we need
Mr.
to
Langhart, is
sw-
that also yours?
Yeah, I'll take it. Anthony's going to take the lead on this one. Do we need to swear everybody in again, or is it sufficient from the last one?
If it's the same team, I think we're okay, but if there's anybody new, then they should get sworn in.
I think it's the same team from the authority and county. We do have some participants,
Right.
part of the program who are on. I don't know if you want to swear them in now, or if you have any questions directed to them, have them sworn in at that point. I don't know how you want to proceed with that.
Let's just get them sworn in now, so that way it's over and done with, and in case they should need to answer any questions.
Okay, so I know we have, jumping ahead here, stealing my thunder, but that's okay. We have a participant from Carteret Borough, Dunellen Borough, Highland Park Borough, South Brunswick Township, and I mentioned County Middlesex. I think the only one that we weren't able to get a representative was Helmetta. But if somebody from Helmetta is on, certainly we'll swear them in as well. But so if those representatives could just put your cameras on and microphones so you could be sworn in.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. All right, Mr. Inverso, then the floor is yours.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so Middlesex Improvement Authority is seeking positive findings in connection with the issuance of not to exceed 23 million of its capital equipment and improvement revenue bonds, which will be guaranteed by the County of Middlesex, and that'll provide the county's strong AAA rating to the financing. You've probably seen this one before. The authority's been undertaking this program annually since 1992, so quite a bit of time. The bonds will finance the acquisition of certain equipment, like IT equipment and the like, vehicles and other capital improvements. Some of the projects will be leased to participants through a lease program of this financing, while others will be acquired through a loan program. And a loan agreement will be entered into. As I mentioned before, we have 6 participants in the program: Carteret, Dunellen, Helmetta, Highland Park, South Brunswick, and the county. In total, the amount to be financed is $7,776,000. This obviously is much lower than the 23 million not to exceed par amount. That's because certain projects changed and some participants who were originally interested dropped out. after we had, the authority had adopted the resolution to make application to the local finance board. So originally we had about $21 million worth of projects, and then, things have changed since then. So we're down to about 7.7 million. Of course, we will only issue what we need to issue, which at this point looks like about $8 million of bonds. So of course that the balance of that not to exceed authorization would go away. We're not going to issue more than we need to. The bonds will mature over a 7-year period, and each participant's repayments will be on a level debt service schedule, which will also be a schedule that conforms to the requirements of the New Jersey local bond law. So in conclusion, the authority is seeking positive findings for the issuance of the not to exceed 23 million of bonds and the guarantee of the bonds by the County of Middlesex. So we're certainly happy to answer any questions you may have. And as I mentioned before, we have most of the participants on the call as well.
Thank you, Mr. Verso. I think the only thing that I typically like to hear from the participants in this program is just the reason why they picked to go through the pooled program as opposed to going out on their own for financing. So if I could maybe just hear from the participants on that who are with us today, that'd be great.
Okay, well, we'll start alphabetically. Carteret, I think Rick Llanos is on.
That's correct. Hello. So Carteret is requesting, through the MCIA lease agreement, 3 police vehicles at 50,000 each for a total of 150,000, and also 2 Mason dump trucks for 90,000 each for a total of 180,000. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're trying to partake into, the higher rating that the MCIA partakes. So, it's cheaper for us to go through them than for us to go on our own. So that's that.
Thank you, Mr. Llanos.
Thank you.
Okay, and for Dunellen, we have Scott Olson.
Hi, good afternoon. Dunellen is home to an Olympic gold medalist twice now, so we're very pleased with that. The application today is for replacement equipment for the fire department. We lost the firehouse a few years ago, and we're slowly rebuilding that and getting the equipment, apparatus, and in particular here, we're looking for hoses and turnout gear and that type of thing. Radios are the bigger ticket items, and there's also a sewer jet truck in here. But Dunellen doesn't have a bond rating, and we've utilized the financing through the Middlesex County Improvement Authority in the past, and it's been very helpful to get on a regular debt service and schedule, and also to take advantage of the AAA rating.
And
Thank you.
congratulations to Sydney.
Helmeta, I don't believe anybody was able to join, but their project is a $125,000 dump truck body. Be financed over a 5-year period. I know for Helmeta, it's a small town. They don't have their own bond rating, and they have been a participant in this program in the past because of the AAA rating that the county provides, and typically the size of their financing. It's not economical for them to go out on their own to finance something of that size. Highland Park, I think Terry's on.
Yeah, good afternoon. The borough is interested in participating through the lease program, purchasing 3 police vehicles, 2 community services, 1 community service vehicle for in-town rides, and a code enforcement vehicle. We're doing our best to also go EV and or hybrid as much as possible. And through the loan program, Freightliner multi-body dump truck for our public works. Ours is very old, and we want something that's more multifunctional. We've been a participant in this program for a long time. The timing works really well for us for vehicles. That's why we focus on vehicles, and the cost benefits us as well.
Thank you.
South Brunswick, Samantha.
Thank you. We are looking to get 6 police patrol vehicles for 76,000 each, totaling 456,000. Also 2 police detective vehicles at 55,000 each, totaling 110,000. So in total, we're looking for 566,000. We have participated in this lease program in the past, and we chose to take part again due to the AAA bond rating, and to get the loans that we need.
And then last but certainly not least, for the county, Nick Juglinski.
Sure. So ultimately, I just want to compliment what all the other participants said. Obviously, Middlesex County firmly supports working in a collaborative effort, particularly with our local agencies. So while we support the program this year, we anticipate continuing this for many years forward. I can't entirely remember what date Anthony gave as far as when we began this program, but it's been a very good effort moving forward. And obviously, utilizing our AAA bond rating is beneficial not only to the county and the amount of equipment we look to purchase, but all our neighboring agencies, townships, and boroughs. So it's great to actually be a part of even further local level. Similar to what other agencies are purchasing, we utilize this for various security and software upgrades, countywide fixtures and furniture, and primarily for central vehicle and park-related equipment replacements, all part of our bigger fleet management cycle plan.
Thank you. Director, that will be all the participants.
All right, checking that you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, thank you all very much. I always appreciate hearing directly from the participants as to the benefits that they are going to realize, as well as what they're going to accomplish with the pooled program. Not to single anybody out, but congratulations to Sydney and Denellen. I'm an avid Olympic watcher, so happy to kind of see that again. So I will open it up to see if there are any other questions or comments from any of the board members or anyone from the public. Okay, then hearing none, do we have a motion to issue positive findings in an amount not to exceed $23 million?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Jackson with Mr. Avery second. Ms. Suarez.
Yes.
Mr. Duraco.
Yes.
Mr. Close.
Yes.
Mr. Avery.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Well,
Thank
on
you.
behalf of Middlesex County, we want to thank you very much. Appreciate your support for this great program that we do in Middlesex County. Thank you.
Best of luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next applicant appearing before the board today is the Borough of Beach Haven. The municipality is seeking to enter into a public-private partnership for the provision of water storage tank maintenance. It's a contract for 20 years with an amount not to exceed $4,895,842. The municipality will maintain authority over the operations of the utility, including the authority to set rates. Typically, the board asks applications seeking this type of approval to identify the municipal employee to be tasked with monitoring the performance of the contract and to make an annual report to the local finance board on that performance. The municipality has identified the water utility superintendent to be the person with that responsibility. This would satisfy the board's concerns on the matter, and as such, the appearance of the applicant was waived. Therefore, I'm asking for a motion to approve on the condition that the municipality task the water utility superintendent with monitoring the contract, and that the water utility superintendent provide an annual report to the board on its performance. Now, before I do that, I just wanted to ask if there are any questions, whether that's from the board or anyone from the public, or any comments that they would like to raise at this time. Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to ask for that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Avery with Mr. Close seconding. Ms. Suarez,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, and then the final applicant appearing for the board today is the Borough of Butler. Okay, I see Ms. Dolan.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. All right. So I'm Valerie Dolan from Nisavaccia. I'm here with Dave Evans, who's a consultant with Nisavaccia. We have Jim Cosmore, the CFO from the Borough of Butler, Jim Lampman, the Butler administrator, and Bob Oostdijk. I believe I saw him. He's the attorney.
Okay, great. So then we're just going to need to get everyone else sworn in then.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
We do.
Yeah.
All right,
Good
Ms. Dolan,
afternoon.
and go right ahead. Yep, go right ahead.
All right.
All good.
Right ahead.
Okay. The Borough of Butler Electric Utility is seeking emergent rate relief through 48-5A-25 for the base portion of its rates. The electric utility, excuse me, has been in operation for almost 120 years and serves Butler, Kinnelon, Bloomingdale, a little bit of Riverdale, and a little bit of West Milford. 95% of the customers outside of the borough are in Kinnelon and Bloomingdale. We're seeking to raise the base portion of the rates by 26%, which will equate to about a 10% increase on the total bill, or about $11 a month for the average user. The electric utility has not increased its base rates for 16 years. So this is the first time since 2008 that they have requested an increase. After the increase, the average ratepayer in Butler Electric Utility will still be more than 20% less than Jersey Central Power and Light winter rate, and more than 30% less than the JCP&L summer rate. If the taxpayers are forced to assume the deficit that will occur if the rate increase is not granted, it will amount to a little over $500 annually for the average taxpayer in the Borough of Butler. Considering that 2/3 of the customers that the electric utility serves are outside of the borough, this seems like an unfair situation. 483123 allows water utilities under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Utilities to change their rates without BPU approval, provided they charge the same rates both inside their town and outside. For some reason, they omitted the electric utilities. Butler has charged the same rates inside and outside of its borough boundaries for over 40 years. They have been given assurances that the statute will be changed to include electric utilities, that it was an oversight, but so far that hasn't happened. The participating towns have all been notified of the proposed action that we are asking for today. It is my understanding that the administration has reached out to the mayors of Kinnelon and Bloomingdale, which account to more than 95% of our customers outside of the borough. And they understand, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Jim, but they understand the reasons for the increase and recognize that there's been no base rate increase for 16 years.
That's correct.
So with that, I guess we're open to any questions or comments.
I'm going to first open it up for the board members or anyone from the public who has any questions or comments they'd like to raise. Okay, hearing none. First, I just want to say that I think it's pretty incredible that even with the increase, the rates are going to be significantly lower than any of the competition in the area. One of the items that I just wanted to put a finer point on, this increase will allow the utility to remain self-liquidating until around what point in time are we anticipating?
12/31/26.
Okay. And I heard your testimony about.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I heard the testimony about the legislature making some sort of intimations that this was an unintended consequence, that electric utilities should have been included in the same legislation that they had done for the water utilities. I've had a conversation with the Board of Public Utilities, with the president over there, just to make sure that we were aligned in moving forward on this project, since jurisdiction can fall under BPU for this. And I was informed, or I should say that at least it was confirmed, that Butler is the only entity in the state that kind of falls under this weird auspice where you cannot increase the rates without BPU, and that your alternative is to come before the board. So not ideal, but I think there will be some interest in seeing if we can't find a more streamlined approach for future increases to kind of take effect. With that being said, I will happily ask for a motion. I think it's already been conveyed to the group that there would be some sort of condition placed upon this that would just make sure that some sort of conversation had happened with BPU before coming to the board, should that happen before January 1 of 2027, since it's being conveyed to this board that this increase will take you through that time period to keep you in self-liquidating status.
It's my understanding that the stipulation will be that we will not come before the local finance board prior to January 1st of 2027, or if we do, we will have filed a petition already with the Board of Public Utilities. Is that correct on the stipulation?
That's correct. But I just want to clarify one point. It's either that you filed the petition before the Board of Public Utilities, or that they've declined jurisdiction over the rate increase, right? Which would leave you solely with the remedy to come before the local finance board. So it's either or of that situation.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, then hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to order the base rate increase on the condition that the borough not make an application to the local finance board to increase the base rate prior to January 1st, 2027, which is the date which the borough says the increase currently before the board will keep them self-liquidating, unless the borough can affirmatively represent to the board that the BPU declined jurisdiction over the rate increase review, or the borough is able to document that the petition to increase the base rate has been submitted to the BPU for review.
I'll move that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Avery and Mr. Duraco. Ms. Suarez?
Yes.
Mr. Duraco?
Yes.
Mr. Close?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
And Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Have a
very much.
wonderful afternoon.
Have a great day.
You as well. Best of luck.